What's up everybody, welcome back to another one of my videos, and in this video we're going over the schedule grid for the week and notable free agents for this week, which is week 3. So first up we're going to talk about the schedule for this week, and Tuesday and Thursday are both days where you're going to have a low amount of people playing. There's only 5 games in each of those days, so if you're looking to use streamers, those are the days to do it. Now Wednesday, which has 11 games, and Friday, which has 10 games, are likely going to be full rosters for you, so you may want to avoid teams that are going to be playing back-to-backs on those days unless you know you don't have full roster either one of those days. My team, for example, I actually have no full roster days this week, so I could do whatever I want, whatever best available free agent I feel like can help my team going into this week. Alright, so Monday, Saturday, and Sunday all have 8-game slates, so you may be full, and if you're not full, you're probably going to be close to full, but you should still be able to use a streamer on any of those days as well. So the teams that play 3 times this week consist of Atlanta, Dallas, Indiana, Memphis, New Orleans, Phoenix, Portland, and Washington. Every other team plays 4 times this week. For the back-to-backs consisting of Tuesday and Wednesday, those teams are Chicago, the Clippers, and Utah. Back-to-backs on Wednesday and Thursday consist of Cleveland and Philadelphia. Back-to-backs on Thursday to Friday consist of Brooklyn, the Lakers, and the Grizzlies. Back-to-backs on Friday and Saturday consist of Charlotte, Milwaukee, Orlando, Phoenix, Sacramento, and Washington. And the last set of back-to-backs, which is Sunday to Saturday, this one's important. So because both of these days, there's only 8 games being played on both of these days, so you could easily use a back-to-back double down free agent on like Friday after the games start. You can pick someone up for Saturday and Sunday. So those teams consist of Denver, Miami, Minnesota, and San Antonio. Alright, so now we're going to talk a little bit about the free agents. In standard leagues, which I'm going to say anything below 55% in ESPN leagues will be on this list. So we have OG Anunoby, which I'm very surprised he hasn't been picked up. He's not giving you a lot of points, but he's giving you a good portion of everything else, specifically in the threes, steals, and blocks categories. That's huge, guys. I don't want to see him on this list next week. That's for sure. He definitely is roster worthy on almost all types of leagues. Anything 10-man up, he should be on someone's roster. Next man up, we have is Otto Porter. He's been doing pretty well as of late, and he's only 52% rostered in leagues. So someone you might want to consider. Next up on my list, I have is Kevin Love, who's only rostered in 51% of leagues. Now, I get it, he's injured, so a lot of people don't use IR slots, and some leagues don't even have IR slots, so I can understand why he's dropped in almost half of leagues. But if you are looking for a power forward and you feel like you could use Kevin Love, some decent amount of points, good free throw shooting, and a good source of rebounds, maybe even a couple threes a game, I would take a chance on him if you have an IR slot available. If you have an IR slot available, you might as well pick him up and throw him on there. There's no harm in it. It's not going to hurt you at all. All right, moving on to our next player is Rui Hachimura, who was originally slated to be out 3 weeks or even more with an eye injury, but he's back already, and it was only like, I don't even know if it was a week. So I think a lot of people dropped him because of that. So he's only rostered in 50% of leagues right now. But I would highly consider picking him up and putting him on my team if you need a small forward / power forward. He's definitely probably going to be one of your better options to go with for the long haul throughout the season. Next up we have is PJ Washington, who's only rostered in 49% of leagues. He's just going to be inconsistent. I feel like that's going to be his trend this year. He's going to have games where he's got 4 points, 2 rebounds, and zeros across the board and a bad shooting night. And then there's going to be other nights where he goes for 20, 10, and has 2 threes, 2 blocks, and like a steal or something along those lines. And he's going to have a great shooting night. So if you're okay with putting up with the inconsistency, put him on your roster. Next up, we have Malik Beasley. He's only rostered in 48% of leagues, and right now he's only providing the percentages. He's somewhat providing in threes. He's only giving you like 4 rebounds a game and only 17 points. So I just want to make note of him, but he may be free agent worthy as he doesn't put anything up in the other whole stack categories, unfortunately. Next up we have is DeAndre Jordan, who's rostered in 38% of leagues. Now he's only playing 20 minutes a game, but he's at like I believe 1.8 blocks, and he's 8 or 9 rebounds. So I mainly have him on here if you need a big man who could get you rebounds and blocks and good goal percentage, while you don't mind if he misses some free throws. Next up we have is Kyle Anderson. He's only 34% rostered in leagues. That number's got to go way up. He's still close to averaging a double-double, and with Ja out for the next 2 to 4 weeks, he's at least the number 2. He's the number 2 option next to Dillon Brooks. So he needs to be picked up. That number has to go sky high. I know he had one bad game the other night, but I do expect him to overcome one bad game and provide solid fantasy value until at least Ja comes back, maybe even longer after that, because he was actually doing pretty well with Ja in the lineup. Next up, we have Alec Burks, who's only rostered in 31% of leagues. Now, he's currently out. I forget off the top of my head what his injury is, but I know he's out. He's going to be out a little bit while, but he is worth picking up if you have an open IR slot. He has been killing it this season. I don't think he's going to kill it like that, like the way he is all season, but he's still going to be probably nothing less than a 6-man in the Knicks rotation, and I see him picking up 28 to 30 minutes a night. He's definitely someone worth rostering if you have an IR slot available. All right, next up on the list is Joe Harris, who's only rostered in 30% of leagues. Now he's just for decent amount of points, threes, and good percentages. He's probably not going to get anything else. Is just a win. But I did want to add him on this list just in case. That's exactly what you were looking for. Next up we have is Josh Jackson, who's only rostered in 28% of leagues. Now, he actually is now he moved into the starting rotation in Detroit for Delon Wright, and I'm curious to see how that's going to work out long term. Now, he's been pretty inconsistent. Some nights he'll get you like 25 to 27 points. Other nights he'll get you 8 to 12 points. So he's a lot like a Baisley, like a PJ Washington. But the thing with him is he's just finding himself this season. Like, he's only in his 4th year, and he's finally getting like the opportunity to prove himself. So he may be a viable fantasy player throughout the season, and I personally took a chance on him. He's averaging close to 17 and 6 right now, and he's close to the 1-1-1 club. I just don't like his free throw percentage. So if I can, I would try and trade him at some point, for me personally, because I just don't like the free throw percentage. But if you don't mind that, if you built a a team where you punted free throws, he's someone you should highly consider picking up on your team. And the last player on my list is, okay, so I know I have the deeper leagues at 25 or below, but I put Derek Wright on this list, even though he's at 19% rostered, because he's everyone's going to be picking him up. He recently got cleared to play. Now he's sitting out tonight Sunday, because his toe's a little bit sore, but you guys have to expect that. Like, when you come back from an injury, that things like this are going to happen where he's going to be day-to-day at some points. Once he starts playing, once he gets back to being fully healthy, which I'm going to say is like probably another 2 weeks, once that happens, he's going to be rostered in, I'd have to say, at least 85 to 90% of leagues, 10-man or more at least. He's that good. In the bubble, he killed it. I know it was just a bubble and a small sample size, but if he could get those minutes, and he should, he already played 23 or 24 minutes his opening night, where Pop said he's going to be limited minutes. So once he gets healthy, he's going to get his 30 to 32 minutes again, and he should be able to produce I believe it was like somewhere around 18 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and he's a good shot blocker for a point guard, and people love that about him. I'm seeing a lot of that on Reddit. So a lot of people are excited for him to come back, and he already had 2 blocks in his opening night when he came back and a 3. So um, he's definitely someone, if he is on in your free agent pool, you need to pick him up. Even if you have to wait a couple weeks for him to get to full strength, even if he's going to sit here and sit there, long term, he needs to be on your team if you're going to if you want the best chance to win it all this year. All right, so next up we're going to be talking about our deeper leagues. So first up, all right, and by the way, this is 25% rostered or less in ESPN leagues. So first up I have is George Hill. I recently picked him up, and now I'm kind of stuck because I love streaming. I love using the waiver wire, and I picked him up, and he's starting now. He's on Oklahoma City. He's starting. He's getting 30 minutes a game, and he just put up a great night last night. And he's been around a long time, and he's been a consistent player in this league for a long time. So he's someone you guys should look into, and you should highly consider picking him up, even as in 10-man leagues. Like I'm in a 10-man league. I picked him up. I don't think I could drop him. I have to at least give him probably 2 or 3 weeks to see what he can give me in the Oklahoma City starting lineup, because there's no one else on that team. Like, look at who we're picking up, guys. We're picking up Dort and Baisley, hoping that they can give fantasy value, because there's just no one on that team. He can be the number 2 option on that team. There is nothing else on there. All right, next up we have is Nicholas Batum. So he's only rostered in 50% of the leagues, and I feel like he'd be a good pickup for now. I think Morris. I think someone's hurt, I believe, and that's why he's been getting so many minutes. I know Kawhi was hurt, so he was getting starters minutes. Now Kawhi came back. Now I'm pretty sure there's someone else that's waiting to get healthy. I think it's one of the Morris twins, and so with that, I think that's how he's getting so much playing time still. I think once the Morris twin, whichever one that is, comes back, I always get them mixed up because I think they're both. I think one's on the Lakers and one's on the Clippers. So I think the guy's hurt, and I think Batum would be a good pickup for the next couple of weeks until the Morris twin comes back onto once he gets healthy. All right, so next up we have is Rajon Rondo, and he's just funny. So he's only rostered in 80% of leagues. Did anyone see that quote about him? Like he said, "Oh, if all these people are shooting threes, I'm going to shoot them too." And he's never been a good shooter, but I just found it funny because I'm a Sixers fan, and Ben Simmons won't. I wish Ben Simmons had that mindset to an extent at least, because it would just help the team win, not even for fantasy, but just for the team to win and to open up the floor. But enough about my Sixers. Moving on to the next player we have is Patty Mills. So Patty Mills is only rostered in 7% of leagues right now, and he's probably someone you want to pick up in deeper leagues because now that White's back, Santonio is getting healthy. His numbers are probably going to come down a bit. His usage rate is probably going to come down a bit. His minutes are probably going to come down a bit. But in deeper leagues, he's still going to get his touches. He's a point guard. He's still going to have those random nights like he's been doing his whole career. So I always like Patty Mills, and he's worth it in the deeper leagues for like maybe even just a streamer option. Next up on the list is Bismack Biyombo, who's only rostered in 6% of leagues right now, which I'm kind of surprised about because Cody Zeller is still injured. Cody Zeller is going to be out at least 3 to 5 more weeks. And Biyombo is good for the rebounds and the blocks. He's been playing pretty well. He's going to hurt you in free throw percentage. I get that. But I do think he's someone everyone should be looking at regardless of your team league size. Well, 10 or up. He needs to be picked up in more than 6% of leagues, in my opinion. Speaking of that, we have our next player, Naz Reid, who's only rostered in 5% of leagues. Same thing as Biyombo. He's been playing well. He's not playing. I think Biyombo has been playing a bit better, and Reid has. I think he has a ceiling, but not much is known about Naz Reid. And with Karl-Anthony Towns being out for the foreseeable future, I don't know when he's coming back. I don't have that information, but I'd have to imagine it's going to be quite a bit with a fractured wrist. So Naz Reid is taking over for Karl-Anthony Towns. He's getting those minutes now. So it's just a matter of time before Naz Reid puts up some stellar numbers on any given night. All right, so next up we have is Shake Milton. He's only rostered in 4% of leagues, and rightly so. He's going to just randomly put up good numbers. He's going to be inconsistent. His minutes are looking to be inconsistent as Doc Rivers tries to figure out the Philadelphia rotation. But he's going to put up random numbers. So there's going to be every so often he's just going to put up a great game. Like when I say great, like I don't mean like James Harden great or anything like that. I just mean he's going to put up a solid line for you at once every 3, 4, or 5 games. So he's just someone to consider at least streaming in shallower leagues, or someone you may want to pick up in the deep leagues. Next up we have is Avery Bradley. So originally I had him on here. He's only rostered in 4% of the leagues, but I originally had him on here because he was getting minutes and he was starting for the Heat while Jimmy Butler is out, and I didn't know what was going on with Jimmy Butler, so I didn't know how this was going to affect Avery Bradley, and I still really don't, because even though Butler played the other day, it was I didn't see the game, but he had a really awful stat line, so it leads me to believe that his injury is still going to hamper him for quite a bit. So Avery Bradley may be a deep league streamer. All right, and the last player on my list is Royce O'Neal, who's only rostered in 2% of leagues. And I watched him play the other night, and I don't remember why I had him on here. But just, if nothing else, guys, take a look at him. I can't even remember what team he's on right now. I think it's Minnesota. But take a look at him, guys. If nothing else, I'm blanking out on Royce O'Neal right now. I cannot remember why. But just take a look at him. Maybe he's getting minutes. Maybe something else. Maybe he's getting a good source of minutes, and maybe he's putting up some sort of value. I can't remember why I completely blanked on him, so I'm sorry about that, guys. All right, but just take a look at them. All right, before we get into double down free agents, I just want to say, please make sure you like this video if you feel like it's going to help you, and subscribe to my channel if you want fantasy basketball content all year round, as I'm going to be bringing it all year, or not all year round, but all season long. Sorry about that. All right, so I know we talked about the schedule a lot, but we're going to talk about the schedule a little bit more right now, because I do feel like pointing these things out are important. So first up we have our teams that are playing on Tuesday and Thursday. So those consist of Brooklyn, Denver, the Lakers, Memphis, Minnesota, Portland, and San Antonio. So the reason I'm bringing this up is, if you remember in the beginning of the slides, I was talking about the Tuesdays and Thursdays. I believe there's only 5 games for each of those days. So you're probably going to want to pick up players on those days. Those are the teams you're probably going to want to look at. You want to look at to see if you could try and snipe someone for those days. And then teams with the best schedule this week. So these are the teams that play Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. So these are the teams that are avoiding the Mondays 8 games, which isn't a big deal, but the Wednesdays 11 games and the Fridays 10 games, that's a big deal. So you could easily stream someone all week by picking up one of the like a player from one of these 3 teams, and that's Denver, Minnesota, or San Antonio. All right, so going into the free agents themselves, if you're going to try and double down on a free agent here or there for back-to-backs on Tuesday to Wednesday, you have Otto Porter, Wendell Carter, Patrick Williams, Nicholas Batum, Joe Ingles, Jordan Clarkson, and Derek Favors. For the Wednesday to Thursday back-to-backs, we have Seth Curry, Shake Milton, or Dwight Howard. So remember, it's only Cleveland or Philadelphia for the Wednesday, Thursday back-to-backs. So I didn't see anything good on Cleveland. I mean, it is Cleveland. So this is all I have with Philadelphia, the Wednesday to Thursday back-to-backs. And I am going to point out, Embiid rested on the first back-to-back the Sixers had, and so that's why I put Dwight Howard on this list, because Joel Embiid will likely rest one of these 2 days. So picking up Howard and using him one day to start, and just keeping him for the next day, because why not? It's just going to give you extra production. So on one of those games, so it's just something to think about. You can't lose anything from that. unless you're fully rostered on Wednesday. All right, so Thursday to Friday back-to-backs consist of DeAndre Jordan, Joe Harris, TLC, and I put him because he was actually the guy who got extra minutes on the day KD rested, when KD rested on his back-to-back. So he's someone you want to keep an eye on. And then we have Kyle Kuzma and Talen Horton-Tucker. Both received extra time when AD rested. And again, the Lakers have a back-to-back Thursday to Friday. So odds are AD is going to rest again this week. So these are the two players you want to look out for. And the last player on my list is Kyle Anderson, who should just be rostered fully anyway. All right, so now we're going over the back-to-backs on Friday to Saturday. So we have PJ Washington, Bismack Biyombo, Terrence Ross, who's been shooting the ball really well lately, Jay Crowder, Cameron Johnson, who's like, I feel like he could be a late, like a 14 team league sleeper. Harrison Barnes, who's I picked him up. He was like my first pickup of the year, and I don't think I could drop him now. I feel like he's playing that well. And then the last player I have is Rui Hachimura, who I think is only rostered in such a low amount of leagues right now because he was injured. And I think he's gonna get much more rostered when people realize that he's no longer injured. And last up we have is the back-to-backs on Saturday to Sunday, and these are the important double down opportunities because both of these days consist of 8 games. So these players will very likely be able to get put into your roster on both these days. And it's also an important opportunity as come like Thursday, Friday, you're going to know where you stand in your league. When you're like specifically a category league, you're going to know, oh, hey, I need more threes. I'm going to pick up Duncan Robinson or Culver, or I need more rebounds and blocks, and I'm going to pick up Millsap or a Olynyk or a Naz Reid. So that's why I feel like this is a great opportunity for people, and something very important to know going into this week. This should be your last pickup of the week, and it's going to likely be a very important one. Hell, it might even be 2 pickups if you have 2 people that you use as streamers. I don't know. Maybe you had an injury and you could pick up someone else. All right, so those players consist of Will Barton, Paul Millsap, Duncan Robinson, Kelly Olynyk, Malik Beasley, Jarrett Culver, Naz Reid, Rudy Gay, and Jacob Poeltl. I don't know how to say his name. Poeltl. I just don't know. But you read it. He's from San Antonio. He's a center. Alright guys, that's all I have for you in this video. So please remember, hit that like button if you enjoyed this video, you found it helpful, and make sure you subscribe if you haven't already, as I'll be bringing fantasy basketball content all season long. That's all I have.